And he was just having too much fun aggravating you about
That's
about your favorite production company.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. Today, we start our first episode for May, which is Zombie Awareness Month. And today, Adam Hulse is back with me, and we're going to talk his 5 picks for zombie movies. There you go.
The end.
I wore my voices one. I made this one. It's got zombie weapons.
Sick. I like that.
Yeah.
Don't mind that. This film isn't even on my list, so
it's okay.
I feel like a traitor already.
Yeah, it's on theme.
Yeah.
To be fair, there was another one that could have been on this list, but we decided because we already talked about that one, we do something different.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. That I want to say that, like, full disclosure straight away off the bat, that the original Dawn of the Dead and 28 Days Later would feature on my top 5, but because we've already spoke about them,
yeah,
and that's going to be on my influential, they've been omitted from this list.
Okay, that's okay.
So, you know, nobody shout at me for not including
having them.
Incredible films.
Yeah,
because in a way I have included them, just not in a top 5 zombie one.
Yeah, and everybody that watches is such a fan; they already knew that anyway, right? So,
yeah. You know, it's terrible. Everyone knowing every detail about my life at all times. I just can't get any peace.
They're beating on the windows outside your house.
A lot like zombies. Yeah, and boarding all the windows up to the flash photography.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. I'm a nobody.
Yeah. Me too. We're getting there, Adam. We're working towards.
Yeah, we're in that grind in.
Yeah, that's right. The grind.
Yeah.
All right. So your first movie is I'm excited that this one was on your list. Is Train to Busan.
Just an absolute fantastic. You know, just transcends like other genres. I think people who aren't even particularly zombie fans or horror fans can see it as just a real quality film. I'm fairly sure it had quite a big budget, but then it ended up being, I think it broke all kind of Asian box office records at the time.
It did, yeah.
The biggest hit. And I think that's why it's good that happened, because I think because of that, it kind of traveled to the West a lot quicker.
Right, faster.
A lot quicker than it might have done. But yeah, just brilliant on so many levels. Tense. It's just the cinematography is great. The choreography is incredible, like you expect from, you know, Korean cinema. And obviously, from a script point of view, there's always that kind of message. It was about the guy as a father, and, you know, it was one last kind of opportunity for him not to fail.
Yeah.
And, you know, and he ended up giving it everything, and just really good depth of characters, and just a wild ride.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, and I think all of the little arcs that we get with the different people as we meet them, I liked that it had so many different types of relationships, so many levels of relationships, and new relationships and friendships developing, and I think that it was one that, and I like movies like this anyway. We've talked before about really liking things when they focus on like humans, like how humans are and how they behave and what they do in these situations. And Train to Busan was such a great one to show just how quickly you can overcome some small things just to become something stronger together. Yeah, so I really liked that part about it. And I liked that I think I got attached to pretty much every single character that we were meant to be attached to. And I hated the ones we were meant to hate. That stuff was done really well.
Yeah, they really do kind of paint some despicable characters who are so consistent with being horrible. You know, they're just like almost like a pantomime villain which I think is kind of deep seated in the zombie genre.
Yes,
there's always like a really cowardly kind of bad guy who's just going to literally throw children at zombies rather than, you know, get bit himself. And you really, you become invested in that alone because you're like, I need to see this guy get murdered,
demolished.
Yeah, I really hope this is a bad death.
Yeah, it needs to be a little longer than some of the other sequences. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think of the sequel?
So Train to Busan is my favorite zombie movie to date. And that, of course, I mean, when I say stuff like that for more modern day stuff, I don't include stuff like White Zombie. I don't include stuff like Last Man on Earth, like some of those like older ones that kind of set this like momentum for what was going to be. And Night of the Living Dead, like I obviously mean in a more modern, not you know. So,
I tend to separate them the same way.
I do too. Yeah. And I do that for pretty much everything, all kinds of horror, like any type of anything monster related, like, you know, nothing's going to be Wolfman, you know, like it's just one of those things. Like it's just, it has to be kind of separate. But, so that one was like a 10 out of 10 for me, like no brainer. Love that movie. If I had to give Peninsula like a rating, I would say maybe like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, that's probably where I'm at.
Yeah, I liked it as a zombie movie. I didn't like it compared to the first one was just so damn good. Like it's hard.
It's like, and this isn't a train pun, but you know, you can take it as a train pun. I think in the first one they stayed on track.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think you find yourself, because I waited quite a long time to watch the sequel because I remember seeing a trailer and being like, oh my God, I can't wait. And then all the kind of reviews started coming out and it was like massive kind of Train to Busan fans and they were just trashing it.
Really upset,
oh my God, no. So I waited and waited. So I just ended up, I waited as long as I could. And then literally just a couple of years ago, I think I just kind of streamed it. And I was pleasantly surprised, I think, because I think if I'd have gone into it without hearing any bad reviews, I'd have probably been crushed. How below Train to Busan it is, but because I went into it with quite low expectations, I was pleasantly surprised. First thing that struck me that it looked like they'd spent 10 times more money on the sequel. It was God, it's like insane looking, and there are moments in it which are just. You know, some of the set pieces are phenomenal, but it just kind of flounders. And I think there was a part like 3/4 of the way through, I think around the time where you get to like, there's like the cage fighting almost bit. And I was a bit like, I don't really know what's going on anymore. Is this Mad Max now? Is Tina Turner going to come out and start singing? I was like, I just didn't. I don't remember. Like I remember, it was quite similar in like this survival thing, and they were banding together. And then the next thing, it just kind of jumped to what felt like it was just quite all over the place. So that 3/4 of the way, I couldn't tell whether I was confused or bored. I was like, I'm not sure. And then I think by the end, it was like, all right, okay, there's a.
I get how it's supposed to come together.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I think like 6 or 7. Whereas, like you say, Train to Busan is just 10. I don't think.
Yeah. I will say it's funny you said Mad Max. When I did my like review for Facebook, I said it's like a Mad Max zombie movie because it was it focused, like I think the point was initially to give us those human things, to show like this is how awful humans could potentially be. But I think the delivery, because it was so like skipped, like it just jumped around a lot, it was kind of like hard to keep up with it and keep attached to what was going on.
I think the timeline at first, it did feel not that far after Train to Busan, and then all of a sudden it felt like it was 15 years.
A long time.
And there was no kind of explanation. It was strange, but yeah, Train to Busan is just so solid because you can just think, what would you change about it? And there isn't really anything you could say what would make that better. It's just incredible. And probably the best acted zombies in any film.
Yeah, no, the people who played the zombies did a great job, and I mean, with the exception of I'm sure at certain points some speeding up, that's all like practical stuff. Like a
Yeah,
majority is practical effects, and I think when you do it that way, it doesn't just add like a level of respect. It's even more scary. It's like the human body can do that. Like
yeah,
it's just unsettling. Yeah.
yeah. It's just very cool.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I also liked your second one, Dead Snow.
Yeah,
That's a really fun movie.
yeah. I suppose the unusual thing for this, personally, is I'm not much of a horror comedy fan.
I'm not either.
And there are certainly big kind of comedic aspects to Dead Snow.
Yeah.
But I think that it, if anything, it kind of makes fun of itself, where it's at in comparison to its predecessors.
Yeah.
They kind of reference a lot of I think they reference Evil Dead and things like that. And it's a bit like as if the director and writer are making fun of themselves, like, who are we to kind of try and do this?
Yeah.
So they do kind of, they tease themselves, but it's also offset with some genuine scares, and it's ultra violence, really.
It is.
I know the Nazi zombie thing has been done quite a lot, and it is usually done quite well. I think this one does it really well. I think
I agree.
The little backstory, it's nothing too complicated. It involves hidden treasure, and
it's kind of simple. Yeah.
It's just it just works. And then you've got these kind of cabin full of like kind of couples, and it's very much got that slasher movie formula, kind of like a cabin, and let's go to the cabin in the woods kind of thing.
Exactly.
But then it just gets to the point where I think what made it enjoyable for me was, in particular, there's the scene where I think two of the guys are like, right, let's fight back, and it ends up a bit like a video game. They've got like chainsaws and stuff strapped to them, and the music's kind of ramping up, and it just goes like, you can't help but think, this is so cool. It's just
I know you get wrapped up in the moment.
Yeah, and he's just like, his bits going everywhere, and he's like laughing, just like completely
maniacally,
lost. He's like lost it. He's just like, I don't even care anymore. And obviously, because it's on a snowy mountain, that kind of blood on the snow is just like really, it just works so well. It's so vivid, and looking into I don't know if you've seen the sequel to that, because that's a fairly good sequel too. Because
I haven't seen the sequel.
Yeah, it actually directly follows.
The
end. It literally, it's unusual because it's shot completely separately, but I think they recreate the very end, and it carries on from there.
It just goes from there.
Yeah, which is unusual, but it's enjoyable. It might not be as good as the original, but it's not far off. But yeah, it's I can't for the life of me. The guy who made it also was involved in something kind of bigger, but you'll have to Google that later.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
I think it's Danish, isn't it? I think
so.
But the guy he's done other things anyway, which quite surprising. And like I said, this is what my brain's like. I envy anyone who's just like Wiki up here. I'm like,
just knows everything.
I'm more like Wicker. You know what I mean? I'm comfortable. I'm steady, but there are no surprises. I can't remember names. But so Dead Snow.
Dead Snow is a lot of fun. So your third one is Wreck.
Yes, the original Spanish.
The original.
Yeah. Now I know through talking with you on Twitter that you went the other way around. So watching the original didn't seem particularly groundbreaking.
It was hard, and I feel like I did a huge disservice to myself because I really wish I would have seen the other one first. But it's really hard when I didn't even know that Quarantine was a remake. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
for a long time. And then I kept seeing Rec come up as like, it streams on different places. And I was like, okay, well, but then like I don't even know how I figured it out, but somebody had said, or I'd learned through somebody else that it was the same. It was the remake. The Quarantine was the American one, or the American one. And I was like, what? I didn't even know that. And yes, I did try to go back and watch it recently for Found Footage Month, and it was really hard to separate.
Yeah, I mean, you said it because I've not seen the remake, but you said it's pretty much like for like.
Almost exactly, like even down to the dialogue. Like, and of course, I watched it with subtitles, but it's one of the it's like, I mean, oh my god, like almost like literally almost the exact same thing. The only differences that I saw, and I'm sure that for people who prefer Rec, who have seen both, who got to see Rec first, the things that I've noticed that were different that may make people sway more on the Rec side than the Quarantine side is some of the shots were definitely more, I don't know about, I guess better is probably like kind of a simple way to say it, but you can tell the artistic differences in some of the shots that were captured. Even though it's the same shot, it's just enough of a difference that you either see more, so it's better, or you see less and it's better, or, like that kind of thing. Definitely a stylized difference. When we did our Found Footage Live, somebody did comment on that actually, that the shooting was enough. There was enough of a difference that it made Rec superior, but I just really struggled to separate them because they were like the exact same movie. And it was so crazy because that's not normally the case with remakes. Like usually they have their own little things that they do or things they leave out, things they add. But it was literally like step for step, like the same movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was hard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I mean, a totally different experience for me.
Yeah.
Because I got recommended, I got past a VHS of Rec. Oh. That's how long ago we're talking.
Yeah.
It was towards the end of like the VHS days, and it was the original copy.
Yeah.
And my mate was like, "Oh," because he knew that I'd been buying. This distributor basically bought up all the rights to like Ring, the original, and a lot of the kind of Japanese horror.
Yeah.
So I was going through this time of kind of watching that, and it was just scaring the hell out of me because I think it's so culturally different. Because I'd been like very much watching just all American kind of slashers, like I've mentioned before.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd kind of become desensitized to that, to then start watching stuff where you don't even see the person get killed, but somehow it was like scaring the life out of me. And then he comes along, my mate, and he's like, "Oh, you like all them, don't you? I've got this here." And I was like, "Oh," and I was like, Rec, and obviously the cover, you can tell it means like, record.
Sure.
And the old kind of camcorder symbol.
Right.
And he was like, "Yeah, it's Spanish." And I was like, "What? Spanish horror?" I was like, because obviously there's loads of Spanish horror, but like you just you don't get to see them. So it was like all the way back then, it was like a Spanish horror, and he was like, "Trust me, mate, it's like," and he was like, "On the end, it'll just freak you out." And yeah, I watched it, and I was like, because it's that found footage style. I was like living it. I was like locked in.
You're there.
Apartment. Yeah, I was locked in there with them, and I was like, "Oh man, bring back the scary woman climbing out of a telly any day." Yeah. So, and I just thought the way it was shot and the documentary style, it's the rookie kind of reporter who's got like, she's just kind of following the fire brigade around. And it's just, the acting is very realistic to the point where at the beginning it's very much nothing's going to happen, and then when things do start happening, and obviously you could argue, is it a zombie film? And I just kind of always count if people are getting attacked by one thing and they're and that's infecting them and they're becoming.
That's where I go to.
I group them. You could say, oh, it's not. It's not a zombie film, but I feel like it is. I know there's kind of the backstory of kind of voodoo and the various kind of weird practices and that, which is a cool backstory.
Yeah.
And some of the sets when they go into the guy's room and there's all the weird kind of
stuff sitting everywhere.
I think, I don't think it gets enough credit because it's from it's from the 90s, and a lot of stuff since is definitely borrowed from it, and including obviously the American producers that completely borrowed it and just did a kind of
just
remake,
copy and pasted it.
Yeah, where I think, like, obviously I've not seen the remake because I feel like this was one at the time where I got in a particular huff about it, and I was like, no, I'm not watching it. I'm not watching it. I don't need to watch it. Why have they done that?
I know.
There's nothing wrong with the original. I think I went on a just because people don't want to read subtitles rant, and I've just stayed. You don't want to read subtitles. Bloody lazy. You know what I mean? And like, and
but you're not wrong though, because I mean, like, whenever I try to watch stuff, like in my house, it can't have subtitles, or when we watch, I have to watch all that stuff by myself. And some of the best horror movies I've found were 100% not in English. Like, some of the best ones that I have found. And and so you did say something that reminded me. So there is another difference between the two. The ending and the information you get about what is supposedly going on is a little bit different in Quarantine than it is in Rec. It's similar, super similar. The final shot is the exact same, but the information is a little bit different. You had said something, I won't specify what, but you said something that reminded me of that.
Well, again, that has a sequel as well.
Rec has like 3.
Yeah, I've seen
3 or 4, I think.
I've definitely seen the second one, and only recently.
Yeah,
and that follows on directly. They're in the same. They're in the same apartment block in the second one.
In the second one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So you actually have some reoccurring character stuff going on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's good. If you like Rec, it's more of the same. And then I think I've marked them that I want to watch them, the other ones, and they're apparently good, but they're different kinds of films. And I've seen the trailers for them, and they do still look cool. I think one of them is on board like a big kind of naval vessel.
Okay, I was thinking airplane, but maybe that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah, I think it's on like a ship, and they're doing like, I think there's some sort of experimentation going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I would probably watch the other ones. I liked the first one. I just felt frustrated with myself that I didn't know that it was a remake, and I kind of didn't get to see that until after the fact. So your fourth one.
We're on 4.
we got through 3 in an hour.
Okay.
That's okay. This is what normally happens when people
thank God it's not a top 10. Just
It's so funny because when I did okay, so I was very serious when I told you that I rely on Steve to keep things on track, because he's so much better at like keeping things like quick and to the point. And I've done a top 10 video with him, and it was only like 23 minutes. I don't know how. Maybe it's not 10. Maybe it's 30 minutes. But either way,
he does kind of strike me that he 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 has that kind of ability to be like, right, come on.
Yeah, he's very good at whatever that is. Whatever it is, making you focus back on what you're supposed to be doing. But he didn't do that. We did Hellbender, so then I was like, oh right, we're supposed to be talking about
yeah. And he was just having too much fun aggravating you about that. That's about your favorite production company.
Yeah, that's probably true. People do enjoy talking about that with me and making me talk about it. That's okay. Yeah, I'm glad it's not a top 10. Well, top 10 zombies would be hard for me, I think, to come with anyway, because I don't even know if I have a top 10 list if I had to give one. But number 4 is Ravenous.
Yes. This is This is Ravenous, the French Canadian.
Yes.
Not the cannibal. No. Film that is more.
This one's newer than the other one.
Yeah, much newer. Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah.
I saw this through Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called. It's got another name as well.
Yes. It does. It does have another name.
There's another name, but I know it as Ravenous.
I know it as Ravenous too.
And it was Netflix where I first saw it, and it absolutely blew me away. I just love it so much. It's very much the kind of thing that I would enjoy writing within the kind of universe that they've created by basically being, you know, in this forest kind of, you know, hundreds of miles of forest. They're so secluded from everything that little pockets of kind of people have survived.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't go into too much detail about, you just know there's been an event. And yeah, I watched this the other night just to kind of refresh my memory. I haven't seen it as much as all the other ones, but loved it just as much this time around, and saw a few things that I hadn't noticed.
Okay.
First time round.
Yeah.
I don't know where are we at with spoilers.
I don't think we've given too many.
Well, with this one, no. Well, we haven't. I mean, I'm saying.
I mean, we can. You just have to say so beforehand. You just gotta go, okay, spoiler.
Okay, well, you know, I may spoil this film for you. No, it's just done so well, and I was, I was kind of googling it, trying to find more out about it. The director is also an actor and doesn't do anything remotely like this, which is such a shame. I mean, kind of badass at the same time that he just kind of showed up and just like
pulled this out of
made this like amazing take on a zombie kind of genre, and just made it into something so unique and so interesting. The zombies, they're a completely different. You would possibly say they kind of behave like 28 Days Later zombies when they're frenzied. Well, there are a lot of occasions which are really spooky in Ravenous, where there will be lots of zombies running about, and then as the characters are, say, driving away, they'll kind of look over the shoulder, and there'll just kind of be one zombie just stood, kind of staring at them, and ignoring all the frenzy, because there's these kind of stages, I think, of the illness. Where they've still got human. You kind of go a bit like kind of psychotic before they go, and then obviously they're building a shrine. They build little shrines everywhere out of kind of
household items.
And it's obviously a commentary on material things. Because it's televisions, it's toys, chairs, loads of chairs, radios, and when you notice there's a scene where there's a particular main kind of spire of chairs that's just massive, and there's loads of zombies kind of
around
like a dozen or so around it, but there's this kind of background kind of white noise sound, like static, almost as if it's a signal, almost like they're trying to communicate. And it's just so interesting. There's so many aspects to this film that, if you haven't seen Ravenous and you like your horror films, this is a really, I'd say it's a grown up zombie film.
It has a lot of layers to it. It's got and I don't know if you feel this way too, but I also it was weird because this was one after I saw it, I had it kind of lingered. I had to really think about some of the things that were happening and what I thought that meant versus what it appeared to mean and that kind of thing. And I think it's I think that, there's, and this is kind of a common zombie trope, but there's this pull of are they still people anymore? Are zombies really still people, or are they just monsters at this point? And I kind of got this feeling, or at least this was my interpretation of certain moments, where it was those moments of those things that they're doing is that last piece of humanity that they don't really know how to let go of. Why would you in this state go to your house and drag a kitchen chair, from 3 miles down the road or however far, to add it to this? And it's just this weird, like action that doesn't make any sense, but it's just this weird push and pull between becoming completely taken over and not being a human being anymore, a person, and still trying to hold on to those shreds of humanity. And then to think, to your point, that the only thing you think about when your connection to humanity is materials, the things that you had in your house. And I thought, like, that took me a couple days to get there with that one, but I also had no idea what I was getting into when I sat down to watch it. Fun fact, I actually watched it for Zombie Awareness Month last month, which is when I saw it in person. Yeah. I did a 30-second zombie horror movie review every day for that entire month. And so that was on my list. And but I loved the artistic visuals for how we were showing these connections to humanity versus not. Like, it was really well done.
It's really fantastic because the cinematography is beautiful.
Yeah,
it's stunning.
Yeah,
it's like really, really well shot. The acting is 100% believable. Goes over really well. Every single there's no kind of duff kind of characters in there. It's just so well. It's sometimes in like the music industry, you will get, say, you know, a hip hop producer will work on a kind of heavy metal album and it will just work, you know, and then you will maybe get like the other way around. And it felt to me this was the same. You had someone who wasn't particularly a horror writer or director, and he's kind of been given this project, and it's like, how would you make a zombie film? And it's because of that, it's not like any sort of zombie films that I've watched. It really does push Train to Busan for me in terms of working with what it's got. It's different in that Train to Busan is heavily populated, lots of people in a city. Ravenous is,
like,
you know,
total opposite.
You know, it's like the mountainous kind of forest regions, very few people. So when you come across someone, you kind of take notice. And there's a lot of kind of people kind of sizing each other up in Ravenous. Where, you know, they'll come across other survivors, and it's not immediately like what happens in other zombies where they'll be like, right, give us all your supplies, give us your gun, there's this and the other. They don't do that. They kind of give each other a look of like, this is horrible. How, you know, you leave me alone and I'll leave you alone. Let's just keep trying to survive. And what you eventually have when you kind of digest the whole film is you've basically been given a group of survivors and you are seeing literally their last week as being survivors almost. You know, it's different in that usually you get survivors and they keep on surviving, and it's like survivors who have literally got to the point where, you know, we are running out of everything. We're running out of places to hide. We're running out of supplies. You know, we've done well because we've been in the forest, but now all the people from the city are starting wandering back to the forests again because of, like you said, this kind of, they've come home, and that kind of last bit of humanity is kind of made them,
pulling them,
go back there. It's just, you know, it's fantastic.
And your fifth one was one I had not heard of.
Yeah, and this is one I'm worried about from your point of view.
Okay.
Like, but only because I literally have not watched this in 20 years.
Yeah, because it's
85.
85. Okay, I was gonna make
this is the only thing I've got wrote down is about this one. But I mean, and it was because I was worried about this one because it was something I watched as a child. Yeah. I think I must have been about 11 or 12. And it scared me so much. But then I watched it today because I was like, I meant to watch it earlier in the week, and you know, time, like we're saying. So I watched it today before I went out, and I was watching it a bit like things that I was remembering, like being terrifying. I was like, God, that's really cheesy. But then I think,
85 though. I mean, it's not like
what I will say, it is very much of its era, even down to the soundtrack. I mean, we're talking Billy Idol, Motley Crue,
agree. Sure.
Go West. You know what I mean? I think it's got like this theme
stuff,
where it's like supposed to be these really kind of tough criminals joyriding, and they're listening to Go West. Right. It's like 80s pop music, and it's like, nowadays it'd be like really kind of hard hip hop, and there it was like, we close our eyes.
I know. It's
like... And they were actually doing cocaine out of a Coca-Cola can, out of the straw.
Out of the straw, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's. I'm talking it out of the list here.
Good for you. Use your notes.
Yeah, I think it's still.
Did I say the name of it? Demons. Did I say that?
Yeah, Demons.
Oh, sorry. 1985. Yeah. Sorry.
It's an Italian film.
Yeah.
It's available on Shudder now. If you do watch it, it is dubbed. There's no getting away. You don't have an option to get rid of the terrible dubbed. But it's awful. It is dubbed. But I was like looking into it a bit as well while I was watching it. And honestly, the first 20 minutes, I do not remember at all. Like, I thought I'd put the wrong film
seeing it before.
Yeah, and I think what happened was, I think my mate was literally like fast forwarding it to them getting to the cinema. All the kind of
everything kind of starts.
Everything goes down there.
Yeah.
So I was watching. I was like, "What's this film?" But it's a worthy place in my list because of its importance. I think the people that are involved in it, the director is, and my pronunciations are going to be great here, is Lamberto Bava, who did Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah.
In 1980, and then you got produced and also worked on the screenplay was Dario Argento, who is, an absolute kind of master of multiple genres, but kind of his own take on horrors and thrillers, and various kind of bigger budget stuff. But he was also a consultant on the original Dawn of the Dead script process.
I didn't know that.
And there is actually, and I watched it recently, was the Argento cut. There's, I think, 4 different Dawn of the Dead cuts. And there's
more than one, yeah.
There's one that he did, and it's a lot of people's favourites, and it's mainly because a lot of his work, soundtracks are very important, and the use of the the songs and that he uses, and the way that he interpreted it compared to Romero was quite different. So there's a lot of people regard his cut of Dawn of the Dead as being better. But yeah, this is another one that's got a sequel.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, and the sequel is basically in an apartment block.
Okay.
And one thing that I forgot about the end of Demons was that, 2 characters kind of escape the cinema via the rooftop, and then when they look, they can see people being attacked by zombies in other buildings, and there's cars on fire. And obviously, while they've been battling away in the kind of cinema, this thing has got outside, and it's everywhere, it's spreading outside.
Yeah.
Demons 2 is a continuation, and what's because there are parts of it which are borderline ridiculous, but I think it works for me like Dead Snow works for me, in that although I wouldn't say that they were thinking that Demons was going to be comedic,
probably not.
Now looking back at it at 1985, some of it is totally comedic. I mean, even the dialogue just cracks me up. I was giggling to myself all day watching it because of the amount the amount of the times people get needlessly told to shut up, and this is before there is any hint of demons or zombies or whatever.
It's just
there are couples turning up to this. You know, basically they get given a complimentary ticket, don't they? And they're like couples, and you know, the wife's saying, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight," and he's just like, "Well, you shut up." And then him comes in, and he's like, "Sit down and shut up." And everyone's just telling each other, they're just so rude to each other. They're just a horrible bunch of people.
Yeah.
Like, just really like unrealistically horrible. It's like, why are you
just
together?
for the sake of being horrible?
Like,
yeah.
Shut up. But yeah, I think the special effects in it, you know, even today I was watching it and I was like, this is so gross. Some of it is like the makeup and that is disgusting, and it's kind of like, because the mask, it's got it's kind of got a different origin to your usual zombie thing. It's more about a cursed kind of,
as opposed to like a virus
to do with Nostradamus. But the interesting thing, which I didn't give it credit for, obviously as a kid, was the fact that it's a really clever way of getting the backstory across, is that they do that via the film that they're watching in the cinema. And the same mask is in the film, but the dialogue in the film is saying, yeah, it's because it's buried under here and it's in this tomb and it's such a body. And meanwhile, you know, they're watching it and one of them's like scratched themselves on the mask, and she goes to the bathroom and it's all kind of
like gross and
and so it's like I class it as a zombie thing because, you know, they scratch or bite each other and that then turns them into
transmits whatever is
going
on.
Actually, when they turn, it's got more in common with werewolf stuff, I suppose, because the teeth grow.
Oh, yeah, I kind of thought about that. This is a lot more. It's a lot more monstery.
Yeah, because one of the main ones starts talking at one point.
Yeah.
One of the girls turns and she's talking as this demon, like she's possessed, until eventually she splits open and this little weird demon actually gets out of her. And it's like, I mean, when I'm talking like that, I'm thinking that just sounds terrible, but that just sounds like the worst film ever. But
it sounds like something that took a lot of influences and kind of put them all into one thing to try to make it like an original take on, you know, things that we've been seeing or have seen already.
Yeah, there's apparently there was going to be a third film, but a lot of the people involved in the Demons franchise ended up making the film, but wanted it to be, in their words, taken more seriously. So there's actually a film called The Church, and I've never seen it, but I was it's out there, and it sounds pretty good. They get locked in a church, and there's like stuff coming out of the catacombs, and they're having like visions, but the visions are killing them. There's demons and this, that, and the other, and it's a similar kind of thing, which you can see there's the comparison to the first two Demons thing.
Yeah.
But they basically didn't reference any of that and tried to make it a standalone film. I've never seen it, but I read what it was about. The synopsis for it, and I thought that sounds pretty good.
Did it say if it was successful? Like, were they able to get a more like serious outlook?
I don't think. I mean, I think it obviously got made, and I think Argento was involved as a producer again, because apparently this was a time in his life where he wanted to kind of make a bit of money in what was a kind of flourishing horror market at the time. And it certainly worked out well for him. They made the film. How successful it is, I couldn't tell you right now.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen it. If that's a benchmark of its success, you know, I'd never heard of it until I was looking at Demons. So, but yeah, I'm gonna try and find it. I get a feeling it's gonna be quite frustrating trying to find it, but
it might be, yeah.
an interesting thing about Demons is that you know the pimp character.
Yeah.
He's an actor called Bobby Rhodes, and he actually turns up in because he's quite funny. Like he's the most stereotypical pimp ever, and he ends up fighting like he's got a thin flick knife. He's got a big like white suit on, and he's like stabbing zombies with the smallest blade.
Yay.
And I just love him, but just really angry about it. Shut up, shut up. And I just think he's the most ridiculous character. But the amazing thing is, he's in Demons 2, but as a different character. But in Demons 2, he's a sports instructor, and there's actually a viral video on YouTube of that character. There's a scene where he's basically just strutting around this gym, which is on the ground floor of the apartment block. It's basically just kind of shouting at people what they need to be doing with their exercises. And as ridiculous he is as a pimp, he's just as ridiculous as this kind of gym instructor in his vest, and he's proper like, you'll never get strong legs if you don't do that harder. And then eventually he ends up like, once more, in this one, I remember in Demons 2, he fights zombies off with like dumbbells and things like that. So I think he's got like a real cult following if you look into him. So we did it. We managed it. 5.
An hour 41 in.
Yeah, it's when you look up at that clock and it's 14 hours.
As long as it doesn't feel like 14 hours.
No, it doesn't. Okay. We went down that kind of streaming Netflix rabbit hole and nearly didn't make it out.
It's all good. It'll be well, I mean, obviously this will be cut down for time anyway for YouTube, but all of it will be in the podcast episode, tangents and all.
Oh, well, can I just apologize to anyone who's just sat through that then?
Maybe message Tasha ahead of time, give her a heads up.
Yeah, I'll say make sure, don't watch the YouTube because make sure you listen to the podcast because you'll really enjoy it. And
there's some bits that you'll really love.
She'll just be sat there seething, sharpening her axe, like booking a ticket to Manchester Airport. Like, I'm gonna get that little bald weasel.
Maybe she's gonna change. It's not gonna have a T on the end. It's gonna have an A.
Yeah, believable.
Well, cool. 5 zombie movies. I'm gonna be overly saturated with zombies by May.
Yeah.
Because Tasha and I have 2 zombie episodes that we'll do. Steve and I will have several. Every normal episode will be about zombies, and then my scary stories are zombie shorts that I'm going to be reading. So I'm going to be like fucking over zombies.
I'm like, this is nothing to do with talking to you, but I am a little bit over zombies just from talking about 5. And don't get me wrong, I am 100% blaming Demons.
Like you were good until you went through that, and then you were like, well, okay.
It felt like a job interview where I suddenly realized I didn't want the job, but I had to carry on talking. Just like, I really don't believe in this product whatsoever. But it's my own fault because I waited till today to watch it because I was so sure that it was going to be just as strong as I remembered it. And don't get me wrong, it's got a massive cult following. There'll be people
I'm sure. No, I'm sure that it does. I believe you.
There's people are major. Obviously, Dario Argento is like idolized. There are people that just absolutely just love everything to do with him. So,
sure.
I apologize to those people, but I stand by what I said.
Stand by what I said.
I just don't. Cool. Well, I have enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for coming back. I guess we'll have to talk about doing It Comes at Night.
Yeah.
I think Steve's pretty serious about tormenting me, so.
Yeah, he has mentioned it more than once, hasn't he? So.
Yes. I think he thinks it's very funny when I'm angry.
Yeah. I must admit, I'm kind of looking forward to it a little bit.
Y'all are terrible human beings.
Yep. In a nutshell. Yeah.
So we can figure that out whenever he wants to do it, or y'all want to do it. Figure it out.
Cool. Well, I better go and get something to eat.
Yeah, it's late for you.
Yeah, it's 11:15.
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me. We'll have to sort something else out.
Yeah, no, for sure. We will.
Cool. Speak to you soon then.
Yep. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. So that was Adam's top 5 zombie movies. Oh gosh. We are in for a ton of zombie conversations. Thankfully, I really like them as a subgenre, so we should be okay. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you in the next one.